Добре дошли на AnimeS Expo 2019.
AnimeS Expo 2019.
Аз съм Николай Николаев.
Аз съм Антон Полязов.
Ние сме водещите, както виждате.
И днес.
Вчера
и днес.
За 14-та поредна година сме водещи, нали Тони?
Точно така, Ники.
За 14-та година.
За 14-та година. Наистина беше уникално преди 14 години. Започнахме от една много малка такава заличка в НДК и...
Да, и то и сега в огромната зала Универсиада. Толкова ни е хубаво.
Толкова ни е хубаво, че наистина трябва да благодарим на зала Универсиада.
Благодарим на зала Универсиада. Аплодисменти за зала Универсиада.
Аплодисменти за зала Универсиада. Вече се събират хората.
Мерси боку.
Благодарим ви.
Парлez vous français?
Oui, français, oui. Това е на японски.
Какво значи?
Аригато.
Аригато.
Така. Продължаваме нататък с благодарности към
много благодарим на
прекрасни приятели от ProStage
Solutions. Аплодисменти за тях.
За ProStage Solutions.
Без тях нямаше да имаме...
Yes!
Виж какво става? Ефекти. Без тях нямаше да имаме това хубаво осветление. То е огромен LED екран.
LED екран отзад нас.
Това страхотно озвучаване. Въобще всичко е супер.
Прекрасно е, наистина.
Искаме да благодарим на нашите партньори.
О, да.
Благодарим на бензиностанции Еко, че заредиха нашата рикша. Днес пак дойдохме с рикшата.
Днес дойдохме с рикшата, слава богу няма зона днес, неделя е, така че я паркирахме отзад.
Да. Пис, някой ми прави пис. С кое?
С дрона.
Значи, виж сега. Виж сега, дрона. Тя тук...
Ники го е страх от високо. Ники го е страх от високо.
Да.
И затова не иска с дрона. Рикшата отзад сме паркирали.
Това няма значение сега. Искате да... Няма да казвам всякъде ни е рикшата. Не, отзад другаде сме паркирали.
Искате да карате, знам аз.
Ще покараме някой път.
Ще покараме заедно лично.
Малко по-късно ни ще се появим на сцената с Кокос. Така се нарича...
Кокос.
Едно ще обясня после.
Добре.
Искаме да благодарим и на нашите партньори
от Доминос Пица.
Доминос Пица. Обичате ли пица?
Днес ще има също много изненади от Доминос.
Да, така че можете да се тагнете на събитието.
Сега или после? Може би малко по-късно.
Може би по-късно, да.
Че сега нямаме готовност с награди.
Не имаме, те са си тук сме ги подготвили.
Така ли? Добре.
Тагвате се в събитието AnimeS Expo 2019.
Какво пишете?
Пишете, благодарим на страхотните водещи Николай Николаев, Антон Порязов, Николай Николаев.
И все пак сложете една думичка Доминос някъде там, за да може да вземете вашата награда.
И с телефоните показвате на нашите доброволци, ето там, че сте се тагнали и ще получите награда.
Точно така.
Между друго
има ваучери за безплатни продукти.
Чудесно прекрасно.
Сладоледи, коли, химикалки, гривни на Доминос, много яки.
Всичко.
Да.
Общо взето.
За бензиностанции Еко забравихме да кажем. Много важна информация.
Ще имаме игра с тях.
Ще имаме игра, всеки, който иска да спечели карта с най-голямата отстъпка, която бензиностанции Еко предлагат в момента. Специално на тази карта Еко пише AnimeS Expo, така че тя е уникална, индивидуална, с индивидуален номер. Всеки един от вас има възможността да спечели такава карта. За гориво да я даде на някой родител, приятел, който има кола.
Някой има ли книжка?
Или просто да си я държи. Ето там има човек с книжка.
Само един човек от цялата зала има книжка.
Така че, сигурно и още.
Само един човек кара кола.
Там има друга зала.
Двама човек. Ето, вижте.
Има много.
Какво?
Колело. Колелото могат да го заредат
може да го заредите.
След време с картата. След малко ще кажем за тях. Знаем, че са ви любими.
Наградите за гейминг зоната са предоставени от нашите големи приятели от Pulsar. Аплодисменти за Pulsar.
Аплодисменти и за Acer Rocket.
Има награди и от Acer. Аплодисменти за Acer. И Рокът! Аплодисменти за Рокът!
Аплодисменти за Рокът!
Това е рекламна пауза.
Днес, между другото, имаше страхотно парти тази вечер тук, на нашата сцена и в залата.
Ние специално с Тони откарахме до много късно.
Цял ден, да, цяла нощ.
Цяла вечер, да, цяла нощ. Тук слушахме техно.
Много яко техно.
Световно известни диджеи бяха тук при нас. Просто се получи невероятно.
Да.
Много хубаво. Направо си да съм спал.
Пренесах се в виртуалната реалност, която имаме в гейминг зоната.
Може да отидете и да пробвате, има много интересни игри.
PlayStation 4.
Аз с нощи пробвах. Качих се, сложих се очилата. И нали викам, просто само гледам наляво и надясно. Окей. Изведнъж това нещо почна да се движи и изгубих тотално баланс. Беше като все едно наистина ми се случва.
Затова ли ти беше лошо после?
Не.
На парти?
Не. Заради друго ми беше лошо.
Заради друго, добре.
Че не съм спал. Исках да кажа днес, с нощта си ми ефикас.
Препис с Борчвор, нали?
Да. Благодарим на Борчвор!
Благодарим на Борчвор. Ето вашите
наши партньори.
Ще има изненади и от тях, така че очаквайте.
Аз исках да кажа на нашата публика, че сутринта, когато тръгвах от вкъщи, си забравих хумора вкъщи. И аз с него спя по принцип. Хумора ни е до мен и аз се нулам снежки. И изведнъж се събуждам и то станало късно. Тръгнах и се забравих хумора вкъщи. Така че, ако има някакъв проблем с моя хумор, то не ще го оправя.
Ще се опитам поне.
Той си е взел днеска хумора. Взели ли си хумора?
Ами сутринта ядох шоколадче Кумалиса. Би трябвало да съм станал малко по-хитър.
Добре, окей. Искаме да благодарим на нашите приятели от Томодачи ПГ магазина. Аплодисменти за Томодачи!
Аплодисменти също и за нашите приятели от Комиксландия.
Аплодисменти за Комиксландия! Пропуснахме да кажем, че в Томодачи магазина има томбола-момбола. В тази томбола вие можете да спечелите всичко от щанда. Така че може да се пробвате и имате шанс да спечелите много неща.
Точно така.
Аз лично днес спечелих такава фигурка. Много интересно. Даже го снимахме.
Много готово. Коя е аниме?
Няма да ти кажа.
Добре, тайна. Нека да благодарим и на нашите приятели от На Тъмно.
Аплодисменти за На Тъмно.
За На Тъмно. Там има много готин мерчендайз.
Готин мерчендайз. Аз лично похарчих 100 лева вчера. Днеска още 100 лева.
Вики, ти си много голям паралия.
Паралия съм си, така е просто... да.
Така е, ти играеш в Ромео и Жулиета в надпис.
Да, играя в Ромео и Жулиета, може да гледате сега на маратона, между другото.
Супер.
Ще има 36 часов маратон в надпис.
Да.
Не знам дали сте запознати, но това е едно събитие, което ще се случи другата събота и неделя, тези идните.
Точно така.
Тони ще играе пък в Кръв и власт. Нали?
Шекспир.
Да. И въобще 36 часа нон-стоп.
Безплатно, вход свободен.
Напълно безплатно.
Така че
може да
заповядайте.
гледате театър.
Може да гледате Ники в Ромео и Жулиета.
Може да гледате Тони в Кръв и власт.
Кръв и власт по Шекспир.
Да. Ние така сме Шекспирови актьори двамата.
Да.
Само Шекспир.
Играем и друго все пак.
Да, и друго, всичко. Каквото ни дадат общо взето играем,
но ако искаш...
работата на актьора няма как.
Да, и нека да продължим по сценария.
Да, ами
ние да кажем за арталията. Пропуснахме Hobby Games, точно така. Аплодисменти за Hobby Games!
Hobby Games! Те имат огромен щанд, общо 312 метра. Може да го видите там.
Доста дълъг.
Аз вчера с рулетката мерих.
Мери ли го? Браво, много.
Значи, 2 пъти мери, 1 път режи. Не знаеш.
И най-накрая... Така. Сега... Знам, Ники, знам. И аз много те обичам.
Много е интересно как ние с торката можем да си... Просто можем да си кажем всичко е така без микрофоните. Ами и аз съм добре, всъщност.
Това е тайна, да я издаваш.
Да, няма.
Сега, аз искам да благодаря също и на AnimeS портал, нашите приятели от AnimeS портал, както и на Григоров, който се намира на арт-алеята отзад.
На арт-алеята. Благодарим на Тоши the Cat. Благодарим на Mushy Eyes.
На Vaco Trolls.
Благодарим на Spirit of Japan Shop.
И на нашите любими приятели от Bubble Tea.
Благодарим на Стела Марс. Благодарим на Глухарче Арт, на Лена Бабукчиева.
Точно така, на Dinosaurs and Dolphinarium също, които се намират на нашата арт-алея и предлагат чудесни играчки и фанелки, и ключодържатели, и чаши, и гривни, и всичко.
То няма да ти кажа една тайна.
Тайна?
Да.
А защо там трябва да ми я кажеш?
Тук е на светло. Ние на светло си казваме тайните. Значи Тони, докато се разхождах днес и вчера, забелязах, че има много интересен щанд точно на входа.
Аха.
Знаеш какво има там?
Не знам.
Всякакви корейски продукти. Много са интересни. Благодарим на Фондация Корейско-българска култура. Аплодисменти за тях. Благодарим ви много, че сте тук с нас. Ето, това оттам ли е? Какво е това? Горещ рамен. Може да се вземете. Да.
Който иска и обича рамен, също може да се вземе оттам.
Окей.
Нека да кажем, Ники, какво друго ще има днес?
Я да видим какво друго ще има днес.
В програмата. Така, нека да започнем с нещата, които са отвън, пред гейминг залата. Събота и неделя ще има Free Play Trading Card зона на Yu-Gi-Oh! Аплодисменти за Yu-Gi-Oh!
Благодарим на Hobby Games, че направиха тази зона там.
Ще има карт гейм на Dragon Ball Super Card Game, Card Fight, Vanguard, Universal Fight System и Pokemon.
Да. Супер.
Ти си, Ники.
Аз исках да кажа нещо.
Кажи, аз ти позволявам.
Все още текат турнирите по League of Legends.
1 в 1, 5 в 5.
5 в 5. Днес ще се пробваме ли 1 в 1?
Ще се пробваме 1 в 1.
Окей.
Този път ще те бия.
Така, и мисля, че ние сме готови. Вие готови ли сте за една много интересна презентация? Питам ви, готови ли сте? Окей, сега ще видим презентация.
Така.
Difference in Cosplay Competitions Panel, която ще бъде представена от Илуна Неко. Аплодисменти!
Hi everyone, I brought my friend. Hi everyone, I'm Sednolis. I will be helping out with this panel today. We want to tell you a bit about the cosplay competitions. We've seen a lot of competitions all around the world and all kinds of competitions. And I've noticed a lot of cosplayers don't know the difference between smaller competitions or acting competitions. And we would love to help you set up your own performance and your own prejudging. So I really hope we can at least teach you some things that you can use in either your first competition or your next competition. I'm going to start by telling you who I am. I have competed for since 2012 now. I've been to a few international competitions representing the Netherlands. And overall, I'm a theater major. So apart from cosplay, I work in theater, so you can see a lot of different sides from stage performances. And you really, because I work in theater, you have a different look on competitions. And I hope I can also teach you that part of cosplay.
And I'm Sednolis. I've been cosplaying for 11 years now. Also represented the Netherlands for a couple of competitions, WCS and ICL. I am a fashion major, so I'm mostly onto craftsmanship and not theater, though mostly what I've learned from theater is what I've been doing, seeing as I've been competing since 2013. So I'm really hoping that I can help. If you have any questions after this panel, please do come and find us. We'll be here all day so we can answer your personal questions.
I wanted to start with telling you about the differences in cosplay competitions. I had a few categories that I use when I enter a competition. I look at which category of competition I'm entering. One of the easiest competitions to start with is a catwalk or a masquerade. In this competition, it doesn't really matter if you have a bald costume, if you have an altered costume, anyone can enter. You don't have to think about performing on stage. All you do is walk on stage, strike a pose, walk to the front, strike another pose, and walk back. So this is a very good competition to get a feeling for being on stage. Yeah. The next kind of competition is a skit competition. Skits are cosplay acts. They mostly range from 60 seconds to 5 minutes in some competitions. Normally these competitions also don't have the rule that you have to make your own costume. So this is one of those competitions that is fun to join with a big group of friends to cosplay your favorite series and to make like a fun little act. One of the examples was the Teen Titans skit from yesterday.
Yeah, so you also have like cosplay competitions, which is almost the same as the cosplay skit competitions, but they have an overall story. So you can see here it's 50-50. So craftsmanship and performance is equally judged. Usually ECG is one of those. So yeah, you have to like put everything together to fix one whole of a competition. Usually these competitions also have that you have to make your own costume or that it's made by the partner you're competing with.
And the last kind of competition are the international ones. For example, the WCS and the C4 partners we had yesterday. In these competitions, you have to make 80 to 95% of your costume. Everything needs to be as clean as possible. You will have international judges who will look at your costume up close and see how everything's made. And there are a lot of rules for every international competition. I know a lot of, because it's international, a lot of it has to be in English, for example. It needs to be PG-13, all these extra rules you won't have in normal competitions. If you win an international competition in your own country, it means you will be, for example, Team Bulgaria for 2019. So if, for example, the teams yesterday, for this whole year they will be Team Bulgaria. And they will represent your country at the WCS, so in Japan. While you're in Japan, you will have over 36 countries.
Yeah, I think it's 36.
You have 36 countries who all send their own representative to compete. So it's kind of like an Olympic sport, even.
It's kind of like Eurovision, but then cosplay related.
Yeah. Next slide, please.
Sorry.
Next, please. Yeah. One of the parts of being judged is the prejudging. Prejudging means that the jury will look at your costume up close. They will look at a few points. One of the points is accuracy, the other point is craftsmanship. It means the jury will get a picture of your costume that you're cosplaying as a reference point. They have the picture to hold next to your costume and see how close you are to the original character. And by that, I don't mean how you look. It means, did you choose the right fabrics? Are the colors correct? It's all about the overall look of the costume.
How many details you have? Did you add the details like, for example, armor parts, lights, if you do have them. If you added them extra next to the fact that you have, for example, you have like the artistic, yeah, like, what's that? Yeah, so like if you have like a costume that you, that's more historically correct, you can still decide on a reference shot, but add on for like the timeline that it's from, because we all know like anime will not have all the details like compared to artwork or manga or in-game. So if you like add those things, be sure to be able to explain why you added those things and with good reason.
And the same goes for something as simple as makeup. A lot of people forget that your makeup and your wig are also very important parts of your costume. And a lot of anime characters are not drawn wearing makeup, but of course we're human beings, we wear makeup. So if you can show us like why you used eyeliner, why you used your contact lenses, that will give you extra points because you explained to us that you at least thought about it. That's better than telling us, well, they're not wearing makeup, so I'm not going to do it. You have to think about translating the image from 2D to your own body.
And the same counts for the guys in the audience. Just because you're a guy doesn't mean you don't wear the makeup for your character. Because just remember, the camera always makes you look paler and sicker. So if you take pictures without the makeup, you will always look way more off than with the makeup. Even if it's just like a basic layer of just nude makeup, it will still look better than just without.
I made a few points of do and don'ts in the prejudging. Of course, every prejudging is different, but these are the main points. I don't want to stand in front of them. These are the main points that I always have in my head. A few of the do's is always be positive. When you go to the judges and you tell them, this went wrong, so it's supposed to be like this, but I couldn't do that. The judges will immediately think like, okay, this could have been done better then. Instead, tell them, I did it this way because, and then tell a positive story. If you can convince the judges everything was meant the way it turned out, you will get extra points. And the same goes for the reasons. If you tell them why you choose a fabric, that's way more important than telling them, I choose this fabric and it was expensive and it looks nice. We want to know why you choose this specific fabric. If you choose an historically accurate fabric, so if you choose linen on an Egyptian costume, that gives you more points than saying, I choose this fabric because it's cheap. That's not a reason to choose a material.
And you don't have to have, cosplay doesn't have to be expensive. But just be sure that there's a reason why you're using the materials that you want to use. We're not saying that you have to pay like 3,000 left for your costume because it's more accurate, but you can also find like cheaper options, but don't let cheap be the reason why you use it.
What I also tell people a lot is to make sure you show everything you want to show the judges. You have maybe 3 minutes to tell everything you did on your costume. And if you look at some costumes, how detailed they are, 3 minutes is nothing. So make sure, before you go into that room with the judges, you have a list in your head of things you want to tell them. The easiest way to do a prejudging is to start from the top and tell them, oh, I did my wig this way, then move a bit lower. I did my makeup because, move a bit lower. I did my top in this way. So you make sure you have every part you want to tell them. It's also smart to practice before you do the prejudging on a random person, just to time how long you're talking. For a prejudging, it's easier to keep talking than to have the awkward silence. Because when there's some silence in the prejudging, the judges have time to think of questions and to nitpick every little detail. If you don't give them time, they won't see the parts that are not correct.
And the last one, also with the keep talking part, please do not lie about your costume. Like, none of us started with the skills or the knowledge of how to make perfect costumes. And like I said, I've been doing this for 11 years, and still with every costume that I make, I still learn every day. I learn things from people in other countries because they do things differently than we do in our country. But never lie, because it's not only an insult to your own work and an insult to the people who did make their things, but it's also an insult to the judges that you have, because you kind of expect that they won't see it when it's always visible. It's better to say, I didn't know how to do this, so I bought this and I altered, or my costume is bought, because there's nothing wrong with competing with a costume that is bought. Just enter in the right categories, but never, and I really mean never, lie about making your own costume while somebody else put the effort into making that.
The judges are chosen for a reason.
they will know when you lied to them. That's why they're judges. The other part of your score will be your stage performance. And of course, you've seen a lot of stage performances already on this stage, but there's so much that goes into it that people who are watching will never know, unless you're competing yourself. It's not just about that 2 minutes you're on stage. It's days and days of rehearsals, days and days of making a script, doing your own sound, making your own music. So much goes into that one skit.
And for generally, like, true to the series, but try also to be entertaining. You don't have to follow your series like to the point, because you can also add something. If like your character likes gaming, you don't only have to use the games that are used in the series. You can just add Mario, you can add everything, but just keep it that they are gaming in their series. So if you know that a character is an assassin, please do not add in your skit that they like cute teddy bears or something if it's not in their personality. But you can also just add it to add to a joke if they want, like if they're annoyed by a character that does do that.
And you see the point of originality on this list? For me, I would rather see something cliché that works and is entertaining for the whole audience than see something original that no one understands. So I would rather stick to the first 2 points than to the original point. If you can make something entertaining and original, of course that's amazing. Sometimes it's better to choose for a very cliché sword fight acts with a dramatic ending than do something funny that no one laughs, you know?
Just do watch your timing with fighting acts. They're hard.
One of the things that's very important, do the bottom link. One of the things that's very important is to have something the audience can look forward to. And for an audience, can you wait for a second? Yes. One of the things that I really like when I'm watching performances is having a moment to shout, you know, to applaud and to yell. So if you think of a script for an act, if you have that one moment in your act that the whole act will, when it all comes together, you know, or this one wow moment, most of the time that's all an act needs. So I wanted to show you an example of the act I did with my cosplay partner in one of the international finals. The act is understandable, in my opinion, for everyone, even if you don't know the Alice game. But it also has one effective dress change that, like the act, well, that one moment of the dress change is and everything we needed in this act. The rest is kind of telling a story and the acting. So, yeah, play the clip.
I didn't come back here looking for a fight.
Really? That's a good deal. One's certainly looking for you.
There can only be one ruler in Wonderland, and it will not be a foolish little girl. Authority must be obeyed, but it must be. You abused and abused me, but you will not destroy me. A good guest does not overstay. A perfect guest stays at home. want to go home. I want to forget. Who would choose to be alone, imprisoned by their broken memories? My dear Alice, Wonderland has shattered. Go back to your self-pity. But it's off with your head. All of Wonderland belongs to me. Give up, little girl. Your pathetic attempts to inflame your sanity failed. Leave now, and some hollow particle may survive. Stay, and I'll break you down. You will lose yourself forever.
Okay, so as you can all see, the part that I was talking about was the dress change we did on stage. You can see us working towards that dress change with the other dress change we did off stage. So people would be focused on, oh, she has a new dress, and they wouldn't expect another dress change, which, as you can hear, made the audience applaud and yell. And if you're on stage and you can get the audience to react in this way, it will give you the most energy you've ever felt. That's the best feeling you can have. And we had this moment in the middle of our act. So after that moment, we enjoyed it even more and we started acting better because of it, because you want more of that energy from the audience.
And also, what I want to add, what you saw in the performance, what I see a lot of people misjudge for a stage performance is the actual size of their stage. Never, or at least try to never just stay in one place or just like 1 square meter. Also, movements that you make on stage. There's a difference, like if you want to show something and you like walk like this and you do like this. It may look like normal to you, but from the back, it looks literally like this. Because every time you're on stage, if you think a movement is big enough, add to it. Always just try to let it. And you saw that in the beginning of the performance when her partner was walking. She was like using every piece of the stage and just moving her hands, making it possible for everyone in that audience to see. Because the usual audiences for the international competitions are kind of like 4 times this size. So it will be bigger. So people will have to be able to see it from the back when the whole hall is packed and full.
One of the things I start with when I cosplay a new character for a competition is to think of their walk. It may sound very simple, but every character has their own way of walking. And if you have this in mind, it doesn't matter if you're not acting, if you're not doing anything, you're still the character. So for example, if I would be a Disney princess, I wouldn't walk on the stage like this. You know, then immediately no one will believe I'm a Disney princess anymore. If I'm a Disney princess, I would keep walking in the classic Disney princess way.
A bit flowy.
Yeah. One of the most important do and don'ts, in my opinion, is to never stop acting. If you're standing still, make sure you're still the character. Of course, we talked about the wow effect before this. That's, in my opinion, the easiest way to make a script for an act. Think of this one wow factor you want and then make the act around that wow factor. That's way easier than making all the lines and thinking of all the movements and then in the end being like, this is kind of a boring act because we have nothing spectacular.
Also, for me, like I will do the don'ts because they're quite next to me. Never stand still on stage. Unless your character like actually has to for a scene, but don't try to make your whole scene, like I just said, use the stage, you have it. You have it for 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes or 5 minutes, depending on how big your group is. Use that stage to tell your story. Also, one thing you should never do is like, the audience is over there. Don't stand like this. This doesn't work because you will never see what somebody is doing. And I understand that if you need like this screen for interaction or you're talking to somebody, like for example, you stand over there, like for example, I need to talk to her. I know this is easy, but it's not the correct way to interact with your audience, because even though you're talking to her, you're telling your audience the story, because she already knows it. So you have to, like, if you're like talking to her, try like stand a little bit in front of her, but still to the side. You can turn your head, but try to like just keep interacting. So halfway telling your story, just turn and then come back again. But don't do your entire skit while standing with your back to the audience, because you will lose their attention.
I wanted to show one of the, in my opinion, perfect examples of an act that's very simple. First link. That's very simple, but really, it's very simple, but the audience will love it no matter what. This is the Denmark solo for European Championship, and even though things went wrong in her act, she got the loudest reaction from the audience in the whole show, from all the 26 competitors. So I wanted to show you this act because to me, it blew my mind that something so simple could be so cool. I also saw her parling and nothing went wrong in that, so I knew what went wrong. For example, you saw the knives. Of course she was supposed to catch them, but her reaction, even though she didn't catch them, her reaction in the end of all the energy she asked from the audience, no one cared if she didn't catch them. The audience still loved it. When she asked the audience to respond to her by calling her name, that's the perfect way to make the audience as excited as possible.
And I also want to add to that, if you're performing, things can go wrong. There is no such thing as a skit that has nothing gone wrong. And sometimes it's something only you notice because you've been practicing for weeks, months, years to actually do that performance. And sometimes it's something that everybody notices. But, and I can speak for 99% of the judges, which I'm not going to speak for everyone, but judges will not judge you on the fact that something went wrong that is out of your hands. There's a difference between your costume falling apart, but we will see that during judging, and like for example, you doing a fight scene and losing your wig, or not catching your knives. We know what you were intending, and so don't stop at that moment thinking that everything is done because you only hurt your skit with that. Just continue and try to improvise if something goes wrong. Always have a plan B, plan C, plan Z for all I care. But always continue with your skit, because that is the most important part, because the fact that you will continue will give you more points than something going right.
Since you have two parlings at this convention, I wanted to tell you a bit about what these competitions are. These are the two international parlings you have for the C4 and for the WCS. Since I noticed in a lot of countries they don't really know what these competitions mean. They know the prize is a trip to somewhere and being Team Bulgaria, but they don't really know what they have to do in the finals or what exactly the judges will ask of you. The C4 is held at AnimeCon in the Netherlands, so we're taking a team back with us to our own country. Normally it was at this stage, and you can see the difference in audience from an international finals and a prelim. So if you're afraid of an audience, don't get scared. They're very fun, it's a great audience. The thing about the C4 that a lot of people like is that it's a very relaxing competition. The C4 is a show that cares more about giving up a great show for the audience than really being a die-hard competition. As long as the audience enjoys the show, they are happy. Of course, it's still a competition, but they want people to enjoy the competition and not just the competitors. These are the last two winners from the C4. And you can see I wanted to show the first picture because you can see how important acting is in the C4. Look at their facial expressions. It's the best. It's so cool to see. I wanted to show the second picture to show you it's not all about the performance. Of course, the costume was also very important. And the details that were on this costume were mind-blowing. But I think this is a very motivating picture. I want to show you their final skit to give you at least one example of a winning C4 finals skit. This is not the video from the finals, this is the video from their prelim. But it's the same performance.
No, sorry. One moment.
Apparently this is my skit. That's not the skit I was supposed to have. Of the Disney walk, what we talked about earlier. It doesn't matter what movement she's making, it's graceful. That's the kind of in-character moments you need on stage. The other competition you have there is the World Cosplay Summit. This is the biggest competition worldwide we will have in cosplay. A team of 2 people will be sent from each country. There's 36 countries. Don't quote me on that. I think it's 36
It's growing
countries.
every year, so.
From people all over the world. So we have from America to South Africa to Europe, and of course Japan has their own team. And the good thing about the WCS is that it's not just a competition, it's a whole week of being Team Bulgaria, for example. There's so many events you have to attend as a representative. Every year, the list of events you have to attend are different. So I just listed the events that we had last year in Japan to give an example of the kind of events you will attend to if you go to Japan. Some of the events you have are, for example, red carpet parades, which means you will have a student in front of you, a Japanese student, with a sign, in my case it was Netherlands. They will walk in front of you, you will walk behind her in costume. Literally you take 2 steps, you pose in front of, like, how many people are at the parades? It's crazy. Thousands of people who will come look at all the international cosplayers. It's like being a celebrity for a week. It's crazy. These were our finest costumes we made for the WCS. The WCS is more focused on performance as well than focused on costume. They do have one award which is only focused on craftsmanship, and that's also something very specific for the WCS. They don't have just the first place, the second place, and the third place. They have a lot of awards. They have an audience award, they have a best prop, a best wig, and a best costume. And we choose to make costumes that were very easy to make screen accurate. The WCS is more focused, in my opinion, on accuracy than on craftsmanship. So if you give them the picture from your costume, they have to hold it next to you and say, you are exactly the character. That's all they want. For performance, you have to think that 36 countries will be watching, even more. Even countries who are not participating will be watching the live stream of the WCS, which means your act is either in English or Japanese, and has to be understandable and enjoyable for so many different cultures, which is also the hard part of making a performance for this competition.
Because like how I would like to explain it to teams who get selected or teams who are hopefuls to be selected, is that WCS skits, and don't get me wrong when I say this, but they have to be like intended for 5-year-olds. And I don't mean 5-year-olds as in like easy, just run around on stage and just do something and nobody cares. But because you have so many countries and so many languages, so many cultures and so many different things, you have to make them understandable for everyone. And not everyone has like the same series or the same understanding of that series. So trying to get to that large of an audience, because I know, and I don't know if that has changed in between, there are almost 70 countries that are interested in joining WCS eventually. And then there are still countries in the world that love cosplay, but don't have the intent to join WCS, but will still watch your competition, like Ashley just said. So if you have that as an idea, don't go for a skit story that is only understandable if you've seen the OVA that is only special edition released if you buy the manga with 3 extra different things that you have to send in before you get that actual file, because nobody will understand. And it's really hard when you're really a fan of a series because you know everything, but you do have to understand that everybody has their own way and own things that they like about series or different series that they like. So it's really a key point to make it entertaining, and maybe even that entertaining that the person who watches your skit wants to see the series that you love and want to perform.
And the thing about the WCS is the prize is not competing in the finals. The prize you win when you're chosen to be the team for your country is the whole week of events. I wanted to show some pictures and tell a bit about the events we went to, just to get everyone excited and show people it's more than just a competition. The first event we had what's called Laguna. They had a life-size replica of the Thousand Sunny from One Piece, which is where all the competitors will go, and they have like an opening ceremony of WCS is starting, and all these presses there. You pose in front of the replica. You get to take pictures inside even. It's this big opening of a week of amazing events. One of the other events we had was called Meijimura. Meijimura is, how do you explain it? It's a park.
It's actually a theme park, but with historical buildings, and not only Japanese historical buildings, but from all over the world.
So this is the event where everyone just wants to take pictures. And you will have this opportunity to, it's built on like this mountain. They will bring you to the top of the mountain. You get to walk to where you started, like where the bus picked you up. It's not a long walk, it's a beautiful walk, because you get to see everything in this park. And there's local cosplayers and local photographers who will come to this event just to make pictures with you or of you, and to look at how your costumes are and talk with you about how cosplay is in your country. And this is one of the events where socializing with the local cosplayers is super, super cool. Do mind, one of the things that they don't tell you about Meijimura when you're selected, don't wear an armor. It's very, very hot.
It's outside and Japanese weather, so it's high in humidity, high in temperature.
If you want to know how hot, I made a costume with fabric paint. Fabric paint is not supposed to get ruined when it gets wet. It was so warm, I was sweating so much, the paint was on my body and not on my costume anymore. That's how hot it was that day. After the Meijimura, we had a wedding event. That doesn't mean we went to a wedding, it means we went to a wedding hall. This is also an amazing place to take pictures. You can see the location. I mean, where will you find a location like this on any other event? One of the things you do have to keep in mind, of course the schedule can change, but we had 2 hours between Meijimura and then this event. So a lot of cosplayers either had their same costume on, or they had another costume from the same character, so you only have to change your costume. I would recommend changing your costume, because you don't want to wear your sweaty costume anymore, trust me.
And that's also one of the things for WCS. Pack multiple costumes. Because your finals costume is one thing that you will not wear to the other events, because that is only for finals and judging. But if you have like multiple events, like she just explained, that are on the same day, try to pack multiple costumes. They don't have to be all ball gowns, but that you can change and let one air out, so that you don't have to wear 4 days in a row the same costume, because events are each day. You have some days that you have days off, but you won't have like one costume and then a week nothing and then one costume again.
One of the other things I loved about this event, they have amazing food. It's the best. There's this day where all the teams will be split up. Because you can't always travel with 36 teams plus an organizer from every team to like all the events. So there is this day where all the teams get split up. As far as I know, there are 3 options.
Technically, there are 4 options. But you have like, the first one is like, you have 2 kinds of official visits. You have official visits to one of the sponsoring companies. You have an official visit to the mayor, which is amazing because he cosplays as well, and he's totally adorable when he cosplays. So it's a really fun experience.
Yeah, he's the best. Like, this is the mayor.
Like the one in the center. The one.
Look at him.
Genesis, he's always in a new costume when you go and visit. You also have the special tour. I think you had Shirakawa.
Yeah, which is why I wanted you here for the other 2. We got lucky and we had a special tour. A special tour is the thing all the teams want. It's literally a free day where they bring you to a beautiful city and show you around the city. So no costume, no pictures taken of you, no shaking hands with people. It's just a relaxing day of walking around a beautiful city. You don't get to choose which event you go to, they will pick for you. So if you're lucky, you will go to the special tour. If you're unlucky, well, it's not a bad event, it's just the tour is nicer.
The funniest thing about when you said like they don't take pictures of you, when we had the special tour.
Really?
Yeah, we had it in 2014. We had, you have to like imagine that Japan still has like animals and bugs that we don't see every day because of their temperature. So we had a moment that we saw a praying mantis on the floor, which was huge because it was like this big. And we had like a group of cosplayers surrounding the praying mantis taking pictures. And then when we finished and we turned around, we had like a group of locals taking pictures of us taking pictures of the praying mantis. Because they were like, why are they taking pictures? Wait, let's do the same thing.
You get some very fun experiences with
And
the local
also
people.
the extra visit that I was talking about, if I'm not mistaken, that is the trip to Tokyo to the Prime Minister. But that's only, from what I know, for new teams. So like new countries that have just joined WCS.
So Bulgaria last year went to Tokyo. So this year it will be the first time they will join one of the official events. The Underground Parade was the first red carpet parade we did. It's basically like you see a student in front of you with your country, you in costume, and taking pictures, like a million pictures, with people who all stand behind. Well, they will make a very, very long row.
They will make a gap in between two lines of people who want to take pictures, and you just walk in between.
It's literally like a red carpet for celebrities. You walk, you pose, you wave to cameras, and then you continue walking 2 steps and do the same again for like 2 hours. It sounds very tiring, but it's amazing. It was long. And this was longer. This is the most famous event for the WCS, in my opinion. This is inside of a mall, so it should be cooler than walking outside in your costume. It isn't. It's still very hot. How long is the parade?
2 kilometers, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, something about that. You walk like the whole shopping district that you continue walking from temple, and then you continue through the shopping district back to the temple. So my main advice that I can give you for this, comfy shoes. Heels do not work. Like really, they don't.
And don't be like me and wear leather pants in Japan at 12
also no
in the sun. Bring like a Sailor Moon costume or something. Bring something comfortable and nice.
And airy.
But I have to say, this was my favorite event from the WCS, just because of the amount of people that come and watch this event. And it's not only photographers, it's also other cosplayers, like Japanese cosplayers who will come watch this event. And seeing them excited about what you're wearing and seeing all these like foreign cosplayers, that's the best. Like having the locals excited that you're there, that's the best about this event.
Because this one is one that has the most interaction for not visitors that actually traveled or paid to be there. Because I don't know if did your brass event have people who are not cosplayers available?
No, because all our events we had the typhoon, so.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, because for like when we had like the brass event, so the wedding hall event, you also had like normal visitors who just wanted to take pictures, who actually paid tickets to get to be there with us. You also, for like Meijimura and for Laguna, people actually buy tickets to go to the event for their own cosplay pictures, but also to take pictures with you. And this one is just in an open street, so everybody can join as long as there's space. And it's really fun because you have people who are fans of the characters that you are wearing, and you will see them literally light up when they see you cosplayed as their favorite character, which also gives you a little feeling of pride and joy because you know the character that you love, that somebody else also has an adoration for. And it's like across the world. But you have that one link that really shares it. And that's one thing that I really like about WCS, more than other competitions, mostly because I've already done this one, is the friendship that you get. And not only with the other teams that are selected or the organizers that travel with them or their helpers, you also get to know students that help you through 2 weeks that you are there, and they are amazing. They really, I swear, they go up and above to help you, and we really love them for that. And it's just so amazing because you get friendships that maybe because of cosplay or maybe because of that competition you would never have had.
And this is the only event where you have the chance to meet people from all over the world and work so close together. Like you said, that's the best thing about the WCS. Then of course there's the finals. I don't remember much from this day. I remember being very hot and not eating and drinking for like 24 hours. That's literally all I remember. It's super stressful, but it's all worth it the moment you're on that stage. Even though I don't remember.
Let me explain. The finals, because there are so many teams, usually they get split in pools. So like pool A, pool B, sometimes C, indeed, depending on how the schedule works for the event on that day, because you had a different stage, so I don't know how yours was. But you usually have to be in cosplay at the opening ceremony. The problem is that if you're team 36th, just imagine how long you have to wait. So always make sure that you have either a costume that you can get out of easily, and I don't say cut corners on your costume, but if you cannot get out of your costume easily without help, ask somebody to travel with you or ask your student to help you. If you really have to stay in your costume, try to drink things that will be absorbed by your body and not a lot of water, because you cannot go to the bathroom in your costume. And you cannot go on stage while really needing to go to the bathroom. So you kind of have to mix and match in that one. For the rest, it's mostly backstage, everybody is in panic. And I personally, and I really hope that every team that does that, because when we have during the WCS and the alumni that join after they already went that year, WCS for us and everybody who has joined WCS is one big family. You've spent 2 weeks with each other, you've seen the struggles. The family of your year will always be closer to you than a family of another year, but you will always consider them as family. What happens for us backstage, we take care of each other. Never expect that nobody knows what you're going through, because everybody is going through the same. Either stress, headache because of the weight, warmth, thirst, doesn't matter what it is. Always try to communicate that with either your organizer, your student, or somebody else from team that is sharing your dressing room, because everybody is there to actually help you. Always try to find your student as well if you need somebody to be able to speak Japanese, and get something arranged by the organization.
Yeah, that's something I didn't expect. My Japanese is fine to talk with people, and the people who, for example, bring your props on stage, their English is fine, so it's easy to communicate. But the finals day, I'm stressed and I can't speak Japanese when I'm very stressed. They are stressed and they don't speak English when they're very stressed. That's a problem, because you literally can't communicate. So make sure you communicate before the finals, so nothing can go wrong. And if something goes wrong, to stay calm and think about your option B. Like you said, always have an option B. Or bring your own helper from your own country, or your organizer that can help you. Even better if they speak Japanese. The thing with our year, I think my experience in the finals can be something to keep in mind, and don't do what we did. For the stage props, they have very strict rules. For example, the weights will be 10 kilos per stage prop.
Yeah,
if it's 10.1, you have a problem. And the same goes with the size. I can tell the story of our stage prop. Our stage prop was 1 centimeter too big, so we had to cut something off. But if you cut something off a stable stage prop, it makes it unstable. So this resulted in our stage prop falling over on stage. So make sure you put everything together at home, weight everything, measure everything, and make sure it's exactly correct. Even better, make it a few centimeters smaller so no problems can happen.
Because generally, I think if they have not changed the rules, it's a total weight of all your props and costumes combined is 40 kilos. The props that start on stage cannot weigh more than 10. And the dimensions are 2 by 2 by 90 centimeters when they start on stage. So if you have like something that extends, it's allowed, but not when it's on starting position on the stage.
And one of the things that we forgot, which is why I included this picture, right after your performance, a host will come up to you and ask you some questions. But if you're like us and everything went wrong, all you want to do is like go off stage and cry. So I love this picture because you can see on my face, like, I don't want to be there. But you're a representative. You have to represent your country in a positive way. So the moment you go on stage, don't only think about your performance, but also think about what you're showing other people. Like not only showing them a cool performance, but showing them positivity and making them excited. I wanted to end this with the winners from the WCS from last year. So in 2018, our champions were Team Mexico, and their act. The thing with the WCS is you don't need a very. It doesn't need to be like a dramatic story or very story heavy. It just needs to be cool. Like you said, it needs to be cool for 5-year-olds. Which is, it sounds like I'm downgrading Mexico, but their act is amazing. And you will see when you see the act, like it was clear they were going to win. And I wanted to end the presentation with them because, I mean, give them some recognition. They won the World Championship.
Preparamos con mucho cariño este performance para todos ustedes.
Ready? Fight!
Battlefield and Chun-Li from Street Fighter.
So that was a perfect example of an act that everyone could understand. Like, there are two characters fighting. It's not that hard. Even if you don't know Street Fighter, it's still a very, very entertaining act because of all the things they do. Doesn't mean we expect everyone who does a fighting act to do this. I mean, this is their job. Like, the movements they do, that's their job.
Next level.
Yeah. We don't expect everyone to do a flip on stage. Please don't try if you can do a flip. Just think about the way they did their performance, making it entertaining for everyone. I really hope we could give you some interesting information and it would make everyone excited to join the competition. In short, think about the competition you want to enter, think about the tips we gave you, and most of all, have fun in your performance and have fun in everything that surrounds the competition. Even if things don't go your way, make sure you at least have a positive experience, either in your solo competition or with your group of friends. Thank you.
Thank you, and if you have questions, let us know.
If you have personal questions about the competition, you can always come to us or the other judges. We all want to help, we all want to inspire you to join the competition. So feel free to ask us or any of the other judges. Thank you.